Welcome to another edition of Friday at 420. I'm Mike Neighbors, your host for the next 40 minutes as we try to entertain you with some local comics and a couple of special guests in the studio. Friday at 420 on Funny 820. So let's introduce the panel. Let's get it started. Of course, sitting to my right, as always, Mr. Patrick Coppolino.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, Patrick. And way over on my left, in his MASH T-shirt, which I love. I think the MASH T-shirt is very hip and current. Yeah, are you? You consider yourself a hipster? It's Manolis Antonis.
Ticanis and MASH is also next to WQRP, one of my favorite shows. Obviously,
MASH is
outstanding. Remember, they always be making booze.
Yes,
and then all of a sudden, like radar, be like the copters. So then they're like be half buzzed, and they're like, "Oh, we got to operate." I'm like, no one ever talked about that. No, they were drunk all the time.
I think, given the options at the time, that was fine.
You were allowed to drink and operate.
All right, it was a different time. Definitely
goes back. I don't know if Pat here goes back as far as I do, but there was a time when you were allowed to drink and drive. Our special guests in the studio are Pat and Ralph. Yes, you're Ralph, and
that's Pat.
You're Pat.
I'm Pat.
How the hell did I screw that up? Oh, and I got the picture book to put. Oh, they brought in a picture book and I screwed it up. Patrick Gagliardi?
Si, senor.
Is that how you say it?
That is
pretty
correct.
good, eh?
I live in an Italian. Very good. You roll your tongues very well.
I live in an Italian neighborhood. And Ralph de Groot.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Dutch.
Ralph, welcome. I'm Dutch as well.
Really?
Nebjurs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nebjurs. Dag. Goedemorgen.
Hakkeslag.
Mag ik een cookie hebben?
Yes. Oh, you were arguing. See, the reason I went to Pat is because you were arguing with Patrick about how we'd know who was Pat and Patrick, and I thought you were defending yourself as Patrick.
No. It's a problem that I have because now I have two Pats.
Oh, there's two Pats right beside
Pat
you.
Coppolino tells me it's Patrick.
Yes. Yeah, very special. Ralph and Patrick have a show that's currently available on 5 TV on demand. It is called Cork Screwed, and we appreciate you dropping in. We're going to talk a little bit about this show because it is very funny and very an inventive way of discovering wine country, right?
Well, it's the only way we knew how to discover wine country.
Yes. Let's talk to a couple guys who don't really know. We'll put them on as they discover it.
We tried to learn about wine from people who knew about wine, but we just couldn't understand it. So we go straight to the source.
So many of us have that same problem. We're going to talk a little more about Cork Screwed coming up, and we certainly want you to check it out on 5 TV. But first, we got to get to our game. It's Friday at 420. Most people know how we play, but if you're new to the program, I have 12 envelopes with random topics in them. We have a wheel of random topics. The fellas are going to spin the wheel. They get a random topic. They can start speaking on that topic. As soon as they start speaking, the other people in the room are allowed to knock them off the topic and steal their airtime. So that's how we're going to play. And as our guests, Patrick and Ralph and Patrick, you guys get to go first. Which one are you going to spin? You guys arm wrestle for these kind of things?
I think I'll spin first.
Okay.
Alex?
You just took that one, did you, Patrick?
Yeah.
All right. You're going to go. Go ahead. Give it a whirl, buddy. Patrick, what number do you have there?
Spin again.
Oh, well, that's you look for the number on it.
Oh, 3.
The other radio station uses this to get prizes away, so we kind of co-opted for the show. Yeah, we stole the wheel.
Budget.
There's no Booster Juice freebies on. It says that on there, but you're not getting any. Your favorite age. The favorite age you remember being, or the
Manolis is like 16.
If there was a favorite age that you have, like right now, is something you're looking forward to in the future. What's your favorite age, Patrick?
I think for sure, first year university, 17 years old.
17 in first year university? You were a little ahead of the curve there, eh, pal?
Well, the fall was 17.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You were a little young.
A lot a lot of new opportunities.
Mine's still 17.
See, mine is not unlike 17, but I got divorced when I was 39, so I lived my early 20s over again between 39 and 40.
And that was sweet?
Armed with the information. Yeah.
Ralph enjoyed that. Patrick, you went to Brock.
I certainly did.
Yes.
Brock University, and I actually went to high school in Hamilton.
Oh, okay. Where'd you go?
Bishop
Bryan, and then off to Brock. And that first year at Brock University was just the best of the best.
Oh, it was just great. Got in doing drama, so it was a lot of...
So the schoolwork wasn't hard?
Yeah.
You did drama?
It was a lot of practicing in the mirror for homework and scaring people and that kind of thing.
That's very cool, man. And Ralph, as you explain it, you got to relive an age after you got divorced. What was the difference there?
Well, I was armed with all the... You know how they say, if I only knew then what I know now?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
it was that much.
fantastic.
Was it that much better than the first time?
Oh, I was on a tear.
Yeah.
And they say daddy issues is a bad thing. Not from my perspective.
All right. Oh, speaking of daddy issues, Manolis Santanos.
I would say, I think 18.
18 was the golden year.
Because I was in a relationship, and I can say that now because back then, and I was like had a girlfriend, and so we were making love a lot. And but it was like, well, you guys remember back then when I was able to like be ready to gain for like to do that, and
multiples.
It would be like a minute would go by, and like, okay, let's do it, I'm good. Now it's like now I have to drink Gatorade and like nap.
Give it a couple of days.
Yeah. I need like 45 minutes to an hour to like for round 2, and like, damn it, when I was 18.
18. That's a great reason for 18 to have been the best year.
That was,
That's pretty good.
I'm going to get a time machine.
I think all the guys in the room would agree. That's a pretty good reason for a favorite age. Patrick Coppolino.
I'd have to agree with other Pat. I was 17 in college. Same thing. First time living on my own. I had a bank account full of money that wasn't mine.
OSAP money!
No responsibilities. Sex with girls. Fake ID.
Oh. Let's all just absorb that.
I still like fake ID.
It says he's 18. All right. Well, I think we've fairly well explored favorite age, and they were all pretty much the same. Bunch of guys in the room. That's fantastic. What do you say we give the wheel a spin? Mr. Patrick Coppolino, give it a whirl there, buddy.
What's the number?
Booster Juice.
Number one.
Number one. You've won $100 of free Booster Juice.
Nice.
Free plug for Booster Juice. Favorite smell?
Favorite
This
smell?
related to the last question?
17, Mike.
17.
No, you didn't do that to me. Oh, my God. No.
Yeah,
I was thinking baking bread. I don't know. Favorite smell?
I don't know.
What's a good smell?
Garlic.
Garlic?
Smell of garlic cooking?
Like cooking with
Oh,
garlic.
cooking with garlic. Garlic cooking in a kitchen is beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, until after the meal.
My dad actually worked ran the Cinnabon here in Limeridge Mall. I'd say Cinnabons for sure.
Oh,
Smell of baking Cinnabons.
Garlic
icing.
Cinnabons.
What's better than that? Garlic? No.
Garlic.
You know what? I used to think to myself, the Cinnabon people should be getting kickbacks from the other stores because people are in such a good mood after walking past the Cinnabon that I think they just would spend more money. Your dad gave up the Cinnabon complex there at Limeridge?
Yeah, we could say that.
Yeah, that was it. He was done with
It's a pretty intense world once you get deep into the Cinnabon political scene.
Is it really?
It's very intense.
Hashtag me too.
As the Cinnabon unravels, so do the stories, and then it just
everything. It just gets crazier.
Peel back the layers.
That's how many Cinnabons did you have at home? Like you must have your house
God.
must have been filled with Cinnabons.
I just remember at school, every project we did was Cinnabon related. Like we had to do. I brought in Cinnabons for this. All my teachers loved us for bringing in Cinnabons. Our clothes smell like Cinnabons. It's the only way I got through school, I think.
That is awesome, Patrick. The Cinnabon, and Manolis is still thinking about being 18 and her Cinnabons. Ralph, for you, favorite smell?
While I like the Cinnabon.
Cinnabon's a pretty sweet
my
smell.
second favorite smell would be, I think, diesel.
The smell of diesel.
The smell of diesel.
Well,
It's
see,
very
that's
evocative
interesting.
for me.
Yeah.
Or raw fuel. I spent a lot of time at the racetrack when I was a younger man.
What type of racing?
Porsche endurance racing.
Oh, nice. And that smell reminds you of all those
Yeah, so
good
the
times.
diesel
and-
reminds me of the trucks and the anticipation of heading out to the track.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And then the burnt fuel reminds me of being at the track. So that, Cinnabon, and being 17. Yeah, those smells.
Oh, you've given us 3 now. That's fantastic. Diesel and gas, it's just such a distinctive smell that you're not, I'm not surprised that it evokes a strong memory.
Yeah. Oh, hugely. Or if you ever do a long road trip And the middle of the night, you stop at one of those highway rest areas. Manolis, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Manolis works at them, but whatever.
You get out of the car and you grab a cup of coffee and you walk back to the car and you can smell the diesel fuel.
Yeah.
God, I love it.
Very cool, man. Manolis.
Originally, I have to say, I remember being grade 2, sniffing markers a lot. For some so I know that was definitely. I had a moment where, like, I remember this, like, I didn't understand, like, life, but I knew, like, I have to stop smelling these because I know, like, this is probably not going to be good for me in the long run. I always had that sense. I'm like, okay, I got to stop smelling these markers.
Probably. I don't think it was.
I don't think I ever did stop though. And then second smell would be my dad always has an oil mail to us from Greece. It's Kalamata olive oil, and it's so my dad would bake bread and then he put that oil on there, some oregano, and it'd be like so delicious. Patrick's tried it. The only problem with this oil is hilarious. Is like I'll let certain people try it. And then I'll give them a little bit of it, right? And then I'll see them be like, "Hey, man, can you get?" It's like my dad was a drug dealer.
It was like a dealer.
Yeah, it was like, "Can you give me some more of that oil, man?" And it was like oregano Kalamata oil. That's what my dad wanted. My last favorite smell is Patrick's feet. I don't like it. He's got the worst smelling feet in the world.
I had the worst smelling feet.
He's fixed the
How did
problem.
you cure it? Yeah.
Bathing. And changing my socks. I used to wear the same socks every day for like a week.
It's so I hated the smell, but when there's enough people around that had to deal with it, I would love other people's like
Reaction to it.
It was so much fun.
So that was just it made you laugh.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, because it'd be like farting and making you guys. Yeah, his feet smell so bad. I am.
They were
if
bad.
his feet smell so bad, if there was like some sort of like a terrorist that we had to get information in a second, and like I'd be like, bring Patrick's feet in, and be like the guy would be like, okay, I'll tell you 9/11. I'll tell you anything. Just please get these feet away from me. Like his feet.
It's better than waterboarding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This. Right,
The terrorist would ask for waterboarding.
Didn't people what happened on a bus one time with your feet? Didn't like people had to open up all the windows on a bus?
When people got off the buses like early, they just wanted to get off. Old ladies.
I don't even want to be in Chatham, but I'm getting off this bus. Oh my Lord! All right, well that was a lot of fun. I think this is Friday at 4:20 on Funny 820. Manolis Zantanos, Patrick Coppolino, and our guests in the studio, Ralph de Groot and Patrick Gagliardi.
Gagliardi. You have to kind of yell it.
Gagliardi.
Oh, wow.
Gagliardi?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not really no hard G on the second G.
No.
Well, unless
Okay.
you're Dutch, then it's Gagliardi.
or Van Gagliardi. Yes. Our special guests in the studio, they are the stars of the TV show Cork Screwed, which can be found on the 5 TV network. A very interesting show about wine country. We're going to detail a little more of that coming up. But first, Patrick, Manolis, you've got to spin the wheel, my friend. As we get into our game, Friday at 4:20.
Did we do number 7?
We did not.
Okay.
We did it last show. We did it.
too.
You think
The last
numbers,
show.
They
The
all,
markers.
They're all numbers, man. You want me to remember them all?
There's 12 of them.
It's 12. Yeah.
I can tell you.
No,
All right.
I don't.
Cool.
All right.
All right. What?
Your first love.
Oh, my first love.
Yes. Who was it?
My first
Hey,
love. Oh,
you
like
don't have to name names, but it would be more accurate if you did. I mean, the
Uh,
very first one, not the first
girl that broke
girlfriend
my-
or whatever.
would you
The
say
very
the
I'm
first girl
talking
that broke
grade
my
school.
heart?
I'm talking the first girl that you went, I'm in love with this girl.
I shouldn't say her. I was like,
You can say her first name.
Oh, the first girl. Okay, there was 2.
Of course there was.
There was the
At the same time, absolutely.
2. Like, well, the second girl I remember her name. Her name was I won't say her last name, but her name was Samantha.
Samantha.
And I was in grade. I was grade. Grade 1. I was in grade 1.
Okay.
And then I was in love with her for about 10 years.
Wow.
And then I told
You were still in grade 1 at that point.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was in grade 1 for 10 years. So then I was like, I got to the point where like now I was like, I think it was in high school, or I was like, I forget where I was at that point, but it was like we're in different schools, and I was like still in love with her. So I knew where she lived, and she doesn't know this story, by the way.
Which is why
So
we didn't use
I
the
had
last
to
name.
figure- I had to figure out. I'm like, how do I ask her out on a date, right?
Yeah.
So I knew her address. No, wait. Yeah, I knew her address. So I went to her house, and I wrote it down. I went to a phone book because I knew her last name. I found her number, and then I called her up and asked her on a date, and she said to me, well, there's one more part of the story I forgot to tell. I knew I had a one of those like what do you call those
Trombone.
things?
That's telescope.
I went into this white building on like the 8th floor, and I watched her walk home.
Oh,
That's called stalking.
Wow.
Yes. So that's how I found out where she lived.
That's the precursor
That's how
to
I forgot
the
about
Me Too
that.
movement.
Hey, it was the 80s, dude. It was a different time. All right.
Touché.
I found out where she lived. I went to her. That's why I knew it was a funny story. I forgot about that part. So so then I knew I knew the layout of where her house was. Went to it.
Sure you did.
So I should have just followed her home. I used a binocular or whatever.
Wait, is that better? Following her home or
I don't
stalking
know.
her with a telescope?
I was
What's
like
better?
I was like 13, dude. I was 13 or 14 years old. Stalking wasn't a word yet. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I don't know.
No.
So I called her up and I asked her out on a date, and she goes no, and that was it. That was done.
That was the end.
But there was a girl before her that I was in love with, and it was in kindergarten. And she never did anything wrong. One day they put her in a room, like a side room where it was like a fake little kitchen for kids to play in, and she had to sit there by herself. And my teacher goes, "Manolis, are you smart up? Do you want me to put you in the room with so and so?" And I looked at the girl, and then I looked at my teacher, and I nodded yes, like this. And she goes, "You stay right there." I'm like,
So your teacher knew right then you were
Yeah,
going
it's
to become
like-
a stalker.
yeah,
exactly.
that was the first stalking
That was the
situation.
first situation. Oh my Lord! All right,
Sorry.
Patrick. Pat. Sorry,
First
Pat.
off-
You're Patrick over there. Pat.
You're the telescope guy that my mom told me about.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes, from the
Leave
80s.
us alone.
I thought it was very inventive. Like I figured out where you lived.
Phone books don't exist anymore. How do you keep finding these people?
And I looked at the last name and the address, and I'm like, that must be your phone number. I'm a pretty smart person.
when it comes to
Only
tracking
use
a girl down.
that for good.
Oh,
You can only use that
yes.
for good.
Pat, first love.
I'd say again, it's the Cinnabon. Going there.
Dad doesn't still own it, okay? You don't have to plug it.
You still, you see them all dressed up in the boxes, but then
Oh,
you see them
yeah.
working, and you see them getting made, and they're going to work, and they're under stress, and they're so viable, and they're so vibrant, and just the smell. I have to go with Cinnabons again.
Cinnabons. His
First
first
love.
love was Cinnabons. I completely understand. I do. They are the most delicious things in the world. Ralph, who did you stalk?
I stalked.
Is that what? That sounds more.
That's basically what it is.
What was your first stalking experience?
I did something similar. I do remember, and there was this girl that I went to K to 6 at one school, and then I switched to do 7 and 8 at another school. And in grade 7, I was this I want to say woman, but she's not a woman. She was a girl back then.
Right.
Yeah, I loved a girl,
Yes.
a little girl.
You're
it
also
was
All
okay
right.
because I was little.
Be
39,
careful.
but
You were
yeah,
also
no,
little.
she was so beautiful, and her uncle played hockey for the Sabres.
Oh,
So
wow.
if I say her name, I feel like
Yeah. No, you
First
don't.
name was
you don't.
Kathy, though. Hi,
Okay.
Kathy. I haven't
Hi.
seen you in a while.
Wow.
My mom's name too.
That's my mom's name.
No, that was probably the first time I was like, yeah, no, I dig Jess.
So did you do some light stalking? Was there a little?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I
think all guys did a little bit, right?
I
mean, we
knew
just
where
wanted to
she
get
lived.
close,
I
so.
had to play dumb like the first time.
I know that.
saw her at her house. It was like, oh, you live here? I knew she lived there.
Yeah.
Who are we kidding? So I'm taking. I'm a little hard on you, Manolis, but I did the same thing. We all do it.
Patrick Capolino, first love.
It was kind of two things. One quick story was like in third grade, there was this girl who was obsessed with me, like to the point where her mom used to tell my mom, like, "Oh, she talks about his Patrick, this and that." And then she was my first kiss because in third grade, she was playing tag with us, and then she coerced these other guys to like kind of like hold me down so she can finally give me a kiss, right? Like if she was stalking me, it was like
wow.
the reverse Manolis.
This is hot.
So,
But then,
How do you arrange that?
But I was all like, ew, cooties, girls, right? And then we got older. We went to different high schools and everything. We reconnected on Facebook, and she's like one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life now. She's like a backup dancer for Christina Aguilera and stuff now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Get her back. Maybe you should show us.
But then,
Is there a break on this show?
but there was this one girl that I went to school with since from like kindergarten to grade 8 that I was like, I had the biggest crush on. And then I remember like in 6th grade, I finally had the nerve to like ask her to be my girlfriend. And she said yes. And then I avoided her like the plague.
No, that was so.
You didn't know what to do.
I did,
I had no idea what to do.
That's so funny.
In grade 4, I remember her name was Pauline, but it was the same thing. And you guys telling the stories was interesting because I was so nervous and I didn't want to talk to her, but I wanted her to be in love with me as much as I was in love with her. But I used to go over to her street and ride my bike up and down the street in front of her house, just hoping she'd accidentally walk out or I'd
That's
accidentally
hilarious.
And then and I would ride up and down, and then her dad became my soccer coach. And so I thought, this is great. Her dad's my soccer coach. She's going to come to the game. She never came to a single game. There was never a time that I ever got to see her at a game. But I still remember her phone number.
Now?
Yes. And I never ever called the number.
Let's call her now.
Let's call her now.
I don't know what we're talking about. I'm looking at pictures of Patrick's first
Oh,
love.
we've got the first love up on screen.
We're
yeah,
stalking
yeah.
her again.
Holy man. And she held
Let's
you
see,
down for a kiss.
She held you. Yeah.
Why is Manola's looking for a phone book?
What? Yeah, I know.
I don't know if you want to reconnect. You could like me to her. You should file some,
Yes.
The phone book used to be the
I don't think
internet.
there's a statute.
That is crazy. You're listening to Friday at 4:20 as we continue to play our game with Patrick Coppolino, who's sharing photographs in the studio. It's radio. Patrick's not helping our audience at all. Manolo Santanos and Patrick and Ralph from the TV show Cork Screwed. And before we continue with our game anymore, so talk to me a little bit about Cork Screwed, the premise and how you guys got this thing going. Which one wants to go first?
Pretty simple. I mean, Pat and I both work in film and television, so we spend a lot of time. We live in Niagara,
Right.
bullet point number 1. Bullet point number 2, we do a lot of work, obviously, in the GTA. When people there heard that we live in Niagara, they say, oh, that's pretty cool. It's wine country. Where should we go? Who has the best wine? And the answer was, we don't know anything about wine.
Can't answer that question.
Yeah, and you're right. It is great, but we know nothing about wine. And so we were doing something with Bell, and we kind of a few years ago pitched him this idea where we said, all these shows about wine, we're listening to sommeliers, but as soon as they open their mouth, they're talking over our heads.
Yeah.
So we had this idea that, instead of learning from the experts, people, I think, will resonate with a show where we go in with just a basic level of understanding, which is, basically zero. And we talk to the winery owners, the winemakers, the staff, and we ask all the stupid questions that you don't want to. So we fall on that sort of ignorance.
Ralph, a great quote of yours. I can tell right away if a wine is a white or a red just by the color.
And that's
So
true.
that's
That's true, yeah. That's where I'm at. So,
are you a fan of wine? I mean, are you a wine fan to begin with?
yeah, I do enjoy wine. I mean, obviously, I'm a guy. I like drinking beer and vodka. Don't even get me started. But I do like wine. But up until, this last year, I pretty much drank what my wife or what my mother-in-law told me to drink.
Right.
And but I didn't really know. I'd go to a restaurant and I could barely pronounce half of the varietals on the menu, and I was embarrassed to order something, and I didn't know what would go well with what. And that's all part of the show, the genesis of the show. We talk about what this is and what is a Gamay, what is a Baco Noir, what is a Pinot Noir, Pinot, Baco, like what,
Yeah.
and what goes well with what. If I'm having
Now, no offense, Ralph, to your Dutch heritage, but your partner Pat really should.
I've been to Italy.
Considering your heritage, wine. You should have some knowledge of wine.
I have the basic knowledge of wine in the form of wine my grandpa tried to make, which we used as vinegar. Still very good. Hard to not make the face
It's so
when you're
true,
drinking
right?
it.
So true.
So good, though.
Yes.
And you have special wine nights. Everybody
Right.
likes to get drunk, but a wine night is different. You have a pasta, you get tipsy, don't wear white.
Yes.
That was my rule.
A lot of red wines growing up, but not as much white.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
White was, and we kind of broke another aspect of the show was breaking these myths. White with fish, white with dessert, white is lighter, white is whatever. And we had wine with fish. We had red with fish. I know. I'm so sorry.
We had Pinot Noir with salmon, and that was at Flat Rock Cellars, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And Ed there is super passionate. Ed actually owns also a craft brewery here in Hamilton called The Shed.
The Shed, yeah. Shed Breweries down in Dundas.
So he also has Flat Rock Cellars, and he's very passionate about Niagara and Ontario and Canadian-made products. And he's very passionate about, he loved the idea when we approached him and said, we're doing a show and we're coming at it. We're not experts. And he said, it's so hard for us to sometimes reach people because if you don't know anything about wine, one of the last places you go is a winery. So we're left with advertising to them on a 4x3, label on the shelf in the grocery store or the LCBO.
It is so true. And so many people are afraid to show their ignorance, if you will, or to ask the stupid questions. And
Some people.
Yes.
Some people.
Not us.
What we're doing is letting people know it's okay.
It's okay.
You are not alone.
Excellent. Ralph de Groot, Patrick
You can do
Gagliardi.
it. Nobody help him.
Gagliardi.
Oh, yes.
Gagliardi. The show is called Cork Screwed. It's available on 5 TV on demand. You got to check it out. It's very fun, and you guys obviously have a ton of fun doing this. I mean, there's a lot of laughs along the way, which is the whole point, right?
We both gained about 15 pounds doing season 1, and we needed to, I've never had enough wine in my house. I would have a bottle here and there, and now I have, 20, 30 bottles.
We're swimming in it.
We're swimming in it.
Nice.
Stop
It's
sending it.
incredible.
The wineries, they're trying to get us on board. Stop sending
I'll
it to
take
us.
it.
Yeah.
No one wants it.
Manolis is all over it. So one last question, and then we're going to get back to our game Friday at 4:20. Have you learned anything about boxed wine? I mean, I take a lot of heat for buying wine by the box. There's no issue with that, right? Right, guys?
You know what? It's
Depends on the party.
It's a good way to save some money. And I am
And
Dutch,
space.
so that resonates with me. So
You could fit about 4 boxes of wine where your spare tire is in your car.
Yes.
In case of, instead of a first aid kit or
See?
something. So
I like the way you guys think.
yeah.
I think that's all right,
Efficiency.
man. Absolutely. You give me a box of Naked Grape on a Saturday night, and I'm good to go. Let's roll.
it works.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Let's get back to our game. We're going to try to work off some of that weight you guys gained doing the show by making you spin the wheel. So, Ralph, you want to give it a roll?
Counterclockwise.
Oh,
That's me. Number 4.
Number 4. All right, Ralph, here we go. Number 4. Your topic, Ralph de Groot, is...
So nervous.
I always get nervous. It's my
Okay.
turn.
This is a concept, okay? That's a little conceptual thing. The worst food you ever felt you had to eat. You're in a situation, you have to consume the food, trying to impress parents of a girl or whatever, and you had to eat. What's the worst thing you've ever had to choke back?
Well, okay.
Nice.
Okay, loaded question.
That's a completely different story. The worst thing would be I've been self-employed. I mean, I'm in Canadian, film and television, and so I had this opportunity to work with this American billionaire, and he took me out for dinner, and I really wanted to impress, and I ended up working with this guy for 2 years, so it worked. But he ordered me. We went to this fancy restaurant in Palm Beach, and he ordered me these artichoke hearts.
Oh.
And I didn't think it'd be that bad.
Are they still beating?
Oh, they were, and he loved them. And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, count me in. And I had to just force them down.
That's the
just
worst.
looking at I felt like I was on Fear Factor.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like Fear Factor, right? I mean, you just got to hold your nose and...
But it worked.
What?
It worked. 2 years. 2 years of employment for eating some artichokes.
What are they hot or what are they? Like
They were just, there was butter on them, and that was good, like garlic butter. But they were like, they were really tough, and maybe I was eating them wrong. I don't know. It didn't
was just
seem
a
like it was
horrible
like
thing.
eating a pine cone.
And a consistency, right? Not a nice consistency in your mouth. Don't say Cinnabons.
That's so funny.
Pat?
I will eat anything. I love all food.
Okay.
When things are dry, like
And you
just
get that...
dry white meat chicken, I just can't. Even steak growing up, my parents would overcook it, so I thought I didn't like steak until recently going out with my buddies. So just dry food, I would have to spit in my napkin.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't do it. And just dry chicken, and it's everybody. And we're coming from an Italian family. There's enough food for 80 people when we sit down with 4 of us, and just eating with regular people.
Yeah.
There's 1 portion per person, and you have to eat that portion because it's so noticeable.
Right.
So you have to eat the dry
Regardless
piece of chicken.
of-
You have
okay.
to eat the dry carrots, and there's no sauce.
It's funny because a lot of us, and I'm a little older, but our parents grew up having to cook the hell out of meat to make sure it didn't kill you. And they didn't learn how to, I mean.
That
you're
sounds
right.
like an excuse.
Like, you'd rather die. Manolis.
I was at a house party. I don't know.
That's how all of Manolis' stories start.
But I was just like, I might have been, I definitely was drunk or something. And there was like, I was hungry and I just saw these cookies, so I started eating them. And about the third one in, I'm like in the kitchen, just on the counter. I'm the third one. My guy said to someone, I guess lived there. I'm like, what's wrong? Why are these cookies so stale? I'm like, those are dog treats. Like, but I literally got 2 of them down my gullet, because I was so drunk and hungry. And it was like, so I just kept eating them. I was very embarrassed though, because it was like, yeah, I ate them.
That's why you double down.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I knew.
to do that.
Well, yeah. Most time when I eat dog treats, they're not so stale.
Patrick Coppolino, worst food you've ever had to force down?
I was dating this girl who was
Not the one you were showing the picture of.
no,
okay.
no.
I would have eaten anything for her. Don't go where you're all thinking. Don't go where you're thinking.
I ate haggis at this girl's house because her dad.
Oh,
made
Scottish.
it. Yeah.
Right. The
And,
haggis.
I did not enjoy that, but I had to.
You knew what it was going into it, right?
No, I, had
I don't
no
know what
idea
it is
was.
now.
It's a sheep's stomach with intestines cooked into it, and
That
then
sounds-
spices.
I had
and-
no idea. I had heard of it. Haggis. It doesn't sound so
Haggis,
bad.
it doesn't sound-
yeah.
Sounds-
And then, it didn't look too bad either, but it didn't taste.
It kind of
very
looks
good.
like it's just a meatloaf or something when they slice it all up, but
Yeah.
it does not taste like
And then,
meatloaf.
Yeah, so I had to.
The dog biscuits would have been better.
Yeah, I had a friend in school that ate dog biscuits because he liked them.
Well, was that,
He
sure
would-
that
Really?
wasn't Manolis?
I don't. Yeah, he would
Have you
bring.
tried different varieties? Maybe there's some-
He'd bring a Ziploc bag full of dog treats and he would eat them at recess and stuff.
Did he have nice white teeth?
No,
No, but his coat
Thick-
was very
Yeah.
shiny.
Yeah, thick hair.
I'm pretty sure he slept in a kennel at home.
All right, we've got time probably for one more topic. Whose turn is it to spin? I've lost track now.
Is it mine? Oh, here we go.
All
Is it
right.
mine?
All right, you go ahead. Go ahead, Manolis. Give us a whirl, buddy.
What number is it? 11. Number 11. Do we do 11?
Number 11. No, we haven't. This is way up there in the chain. Here we go. All right. And now, just to clarify, Pat and Ralph, you guys don't do stand-up comedy. You're very funny guys.
We're very funny
They
guys,
judge
yeah.
they judge the Go Yuck Yourself contest
Yeah,
every
actually.
week at Yuck Yuck.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. This is really more of a stand-up comedy question. But you can suppose if you were going to be a stand-up, have you guys ever thought about trying it?
I've done it, and we both have
You
a
have-
background in improv.
Okay.
And, I just haven't been on stage in, I don't know, probably 6 years.
Well, this is about going on stage. Here we go. Manolis, your question is, on stage, do you run to the microphone, walk to the microphone, or strut to the microphone? You've probably tried them all.
Yeah. Depends what I'm doing before.
I'm running late or something, or
Might be in the bathroom or whatever, getting ready or getting a quick drink. I would.
your side stage.
Yeah.
Manolis Santano.
I was like more of a what was my options? I'm a
Stagger?
strut, like
Stagger?
a little
Stagger?
Stagger, I think
stagger.
stagger.
I strut. I think I got walk.
You got a bit of
I
a-
don't run, but I like to get up there. I don't like that dead time between like the audience waiting for me to be there,
Right.
and like the MC's introducing my name.
And you don't do anything like the goofy sort of, hey, I can't get the microphone or knock stuff over, or have you
I
tried
do-
all those things? Everybody's tried some of that stuff.
What I like to do is actually just start. I like to make eye contact with people. I just like because like
Right away.
Right away. I just like I'll look at someone and kind of like say hi. Like I pretend they're my friend, And it's like, hey, dude, like, what's going on? Hey, man, like,
Manolis has a lot of experience pretending people are his friend.
I know, because I don't have any off stage.
That's as close as he gets to human interaction.
All I have is Facebook, and that's all I'll say right now. But like, yeah, I try to make a connection with a few people as because that way I think they get less intimidated by you if you just make eye contact with them.
Friendly and get right away. You're
like
making
a little
contact. Yeah, I like that.
Like, hey, dude, what's up? You know.
Patrick Capolino, run, walk, stagger.
Well, it depends on the distance. You'd think it would be a natural. You'd think it would be a natural instinct, right? Like if someone holds the door open for you, depending how far I am, it'll depend on how quickly I get to the door.
Okay.
And I feel like the microphone's the same thing. Like, especially hosting the show every week on Amateur Night at Yucks is like, I can't believe how many people you introduce their name and they're at the back of the room and they just slowly saunter.
Oh, I hate it.
And I'm watching them and like the crowd's done applauding and then there's still another 10 seconds of just, it's like, just hurry up.
Yes.
I don't get it.
That's my biggest pet peeve.
First time I ever met Patrick, he was opening for Tom Green in St. Catharines.
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard of him. Like I knew he was a local guy. I think we were friends on Facebook. So I went. I took my wife, and we sat in the front row, and I didn't know what to expect. And I remember that you were introduced, and you slowly, confidently approached the microphone, and I thought, "Damn, this guy's confident."
Like, was it appropriate?
It was inappropriate. I mean, you looked very confused, but but it was confidence inspiring, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you owned it.
It is an interesting thing because it does sort of it can help set the stage for what's coming, right? I mean, how you approach and get into what you're doing.
But when it's like 11:15 on a Wednesday at Yuck Yucks and there's 8 people in the audience, like, just hurry up.
Don't leave me hanging.
I'll hate a comedian if I'm emceeing and they do that. I instantly I don't even care what their act is. I'm like, all right, I don't like you now.
I already hate you.
Yeah,
I already hate you. Ralph and Pat, if you were going to be walking out on stage.
We could apply it to walking on set.
Yes, you can.
Like walking to our first marks.
Yep.
I like to take my time a little bit. It's our final time before we...
Who would be ready first?
Probably Ralph.
I'm typically ready first. I'm the one who's a little bit more organized. But yeah, I like the... I don't like to rush. You almost confuse people. Like... being scared of silence, I think, is a sign of, I don't know, you're not really secure. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But so I like to just let everybody get to see me. And here I go. The same thing with improv.
Yeah.
You resist that urge to run out and start a scene with something. Just give it a second. Walk out. Where are you? Look around. Okay, I'm in a kitchen.
Not unlike wine. You want to let it breathe.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes accidents happen on set. When people are going fast.
Yeah.
And people
on
get hurt.
dates.
People get hurt.
People get hurt.
It's true, Pat. You're right.
I've seen
Seems
it.
like an oddity, but yes, that's why you don't want to rush out there. It has been a wonderful edition of Friday at 4:20. I know it's over that fast. Ralph and Pat, one more time. Screwed, unscrewed, cork screwed.
Cork screwed.
Sorry.
He just looked Ralph in the eye and said, "Screwed."
I was so good.
I feel screwed.
that's my life that you're talking about.
That's Manolis' new show, Screwed, coming soon to TV. But you guys actually have one on TV. You can check it out on 5 TV on demand. It's called Cork Screwed. Ralph and Patrick, thank you so much, guys, for dropping in and being part of our little show here Friday at 4:20. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
For having
Okay,
us.
guys did a great job for us. Thank you. Patrick Capolino, Manolis Santanos. You thugs will be back in another week.
Yes, thank you, dude.
If Manolis doesn't get picked up for stalking in the meantime. We'll be back in 7 days' time with another edition of Friday at 4:20. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Funny 820. And until we get a chance to talk to you again in 7 days, have an awesome weekend.